given the fact that it's never good and we want to get a filter in the home, on top of that, what are the biggest culprits in the house, even with a filter, things
Yeah.
we want to be mindful of to bring that burden down?
Yeah. And so the biggest, like, well, starting at the front door, don't wear shoes inside is like a no-brainer. I grew up in Canada. I'm in Austin now. Nobody in Canada really wore shoes inside. I mean, some people had like indoor shoes, but people wouldn't just come into your home and like wear their shoes inside. I think because of the winter, that would be like such a mess. Here in Texas, people just come into your home with their shoes and boots. They don't think twice about it. So no shoes indoors. 95% of shoes have fecal matter on them, and I guarantee you it's just as high for glyphosate and other chemicals. So shoes should not go inside. Table stakes. Next thing, um, when you're cooking, if you can open your windows, that would be a very good idea. But using your range hood or your basically the vent above your stove, most people's don't work very good. So you should test yours out. What I mean by this is take a tissue, and a lot of them have like that microwave style vent. They almost never work. So here's how you test. You take a paper towel or a Kleenex, hold it up, turn on that fan, and make sure it pulls it from your hand and it holds it there. And then see where it vents. Sometimes it just vents into the cabinet right above. That needs to vent outside your house. That's what the vent is for, to exhaust from the home. Also, same with the bathrooms. When you shower, you ideally want to run your bathroom fan for about 2 hours after a shower. Why? Think about this. Your home is pretty tight. You shower, that's a lot of moisture and humidity. And just think about how much water a towel can soak up. There's a lot of water that accumulates in the towel in the bottom of the shower. And if you're not venting it out, then that water is just increasing the humidity too much in your home. And that creates to the mold count and the mold spores in your home. So same thing, tissue test, turn on your bathroom fan, make sure it pulls it, make sure it vents outside. Um, those are big ones. And then run your bathroom fan for a couple hours after you shower. An easy hack for that one is just getting a timer. Like you can get like the dimmer switch timer type of combo where it has the 1 hour or the 2 hour timer. So when you're ready to take a shower, and turn that fan on before your shower. People think those bathroom fans are for poop smells. They're not. They're for the shower. If you don't have a fan, you should by code typically have a window, but you want all that humidity from the shower going outside and not staying inside. Also being mindful of, so cooking is the number one thing that pollutes in a home. So that's why you want to be venting out all of the aerosols in the exhaust. And then be mindful of your cleaning products. So when people do have a Jasper on smart mode, they notice it's going red all the time. If they're cooking inside without ventilation, if they're using toxic cleaning products, candles, it goes off. So you want to be mindful, like all the really heavily scented products, the Cloroxes, the Windexes, the Lysols, you want to look for more natural cleaning products. And this is just a good way to keep the toxic burden and the sources down in your home. If you're painting, look for a low VOC paint. If you're setting up a baby's nursery, paint 4 or 5 months before baby's born. Get the new furniture in ASAP and open up the windows so it can exhaust and off gas. Off gassing is, think about that new car smell. It doesn't last forever, but that new car smell is not a natural smell. You don't want to be breathing that smell in. Um, those are the big ones.
I want to zoom back and talk about what somebody can do in the home right now for free. Say they're even ordering a Jaspr, but they want to start today to upgrade the air in the home. We've talked about opening the windows, but this is where allergens come in. How does somebody know whether or not it's a pro or a con to open the windows? And then other free things they can do. You mentioned taking the shoes off. You gave us that list early on, but other ways they can hack the air in the home. You mentioned ventilation again for the cooking, but other things you can add to
Yep.
that list for free
Yeah, I'll
people can
build
do
on it.
today.
Free things you can do today. So yes, we got the shoes, we got the rain hood, we got the bathroom fan, we got better cleaning products. Ideally, you're not burning incense and candles. If you are, look for like a beeswax candle with a wooden wick. When you exhaust your candles, don't just blow them out. Either extinguish them outside or put like a lid on the candle, because It's the blowing out candle phase that pollutes your air the most. That black smoke, because it's not combusting. It doesn't have the necessary heat. Um, Other ones would be if you have getting a HEPA vacuum is actually a really good investment. They used to be a couple grand. Now they're like $500-600. HEPA vacuum, not the Dyson one. That's not a real HEPA vacuum. The best one is called the GD George Donald GD 930. That's the same vacuum I would use in restoration and mold remediation, smoke and flood cleanup. And this could either be your daily driver or this is like your deep clean vacuum. You're busting this out weekly or monthly or quarterly to do the carpets, to do the stairs, because otherwise you're using a vacuum and most likely the tiny particles are just shooting out the other side. So a HEPA vacuum, I think, is a great investment. And in a residential use, that filter is going to last you like 3 years. You don't have to change it very often. So it's, your Dyson or your Roomba might be your daily driver, and this is like your heavy duty thing. If you have carpets that are like smaller rugs, shaking them out quarterly is another fantastic idea. That gets a lot of the particulate out. Don't put Amazon packages on your kitchen counter. Amazon packages have seen a lot of shit. Sometimes literally, they are not clean. Don't put them on your kitchen counter. Be mindful of where you put your backpack. So if you have like a backpack or a purse, especially if it's porous, that goes on planes, trains, buses, coffee shop floors, etc. Um, and then you go and put it on your couch or your bed. These are like porous sponges. So be mindful of where you're putting porous things. If you get a HEPA vacuum, good idea to also hit the couch once in a while. Couches and mattresses actually get really dirty. Especially, mattresses, at least we have sheets and we clean the sheets. Often couches don't have that. So and like I would say steam cleaning, but steam cleaning is very expensive. You need a third party company to come in. The HEPA vacuum, you buy it once, now you kind of have the machine to do the job on your own. um
Okay, what about windows? I mentioned that within
oh
that
yeah,
realm too.
allergens in windows.
And other things. Obviously, we need to be mindful as the neighbor having a campfire outside. There's going to be all different variables that people need to consider. But in general, pros and cons when it makes sense to open the windows versus not.
So this really depends, because if you're not scrubbing your air and you're just breathing your air straight up, opening your windows is almost always good, because even if it's a bit of a pollen day, where do you think the air in your home comes from anyway? It's coming from outside. Even on a generally, like, if I test someone's pillow or carpet for pollen, there's more pollen inside than outside. Because outside we have the rain, the wind, the trees, etc. So even if it's a high allergen day outside, it's a high allergen day inside too. Because if your home wasn't bringing in the outdoor air, you would be suffocating in there. Your home is not this like airtight container. So fresh air is almost always a good idea. If it's too hot, too cold, too rainy, too loud, if there's an acute situation like fire, like smoke, yeah, you probably want to have less. If you notice it's like a really bad allergy day, basically only in extreme situations would I not want to have some windows cracked. If you're scrubbing your air, different story. Now I want my doors and windows more tight, because as that pollen or that wildfire smoke or that pollution or that campfire comes in, I'm scrubbing my air and I'm turning my home into like a clean air sanctuary. So the more filtration you have, the more closing the windows is better, so you can be deep cleaning the air. But cracking your windows and having a balance of fresh air and air scrubbing is great too.
Okay, you mentioned candles. I think you mentioned the incense. What about
Yeah.
essential oils and people that are diffusing those? Often done in our world as a way to gain certain health benefits. Do you see that as being good or bad?
Yeah, it goes back to that fragrances thing. Also, like, there's good oils and there's not good oils. Um, Generally, I'd rather get a diffuser that's actually diffusing the herb personally, more so than an extract. So, there's little bubblers that kind of bubble hot water over lemongrass or eucalyptus and things like that. When it does come to oils, I don't know all the brands, but there's very cheap, crappy oils that are mixed with a bunch of stuff you don't want. And there's very good, pure oils that are great. If someone is using oils and stuff like that, and that if you're using oils and diffusers and candles, I think you'd be out of your mind to not be scrubbing your air because you are polluting it. It does get trapped inside. Either open your windows, do it outside. But if you're doing it in a contained environment where it gets trapped inside, I think scrubbing is a non-negotiable. But it depends on the brand, it depends on the product, it depends on the space. Um, it's a little bit nuanced, really.
What about plants? You often hear there's
Plants.
different plants out there and different lists online. I know snake plant is often mentioned, peace lily. How effective are these at filtering the air? And if they are, how can they complement a device like the Jasper?
So yeah, well, first of all, trees are plants. Our logo is a tree because trees are the ultimate air filtration system of this planet. So trees being plants, incredible air filtration machines. The NASA study in the 70s or so got pretty popular, the NASA plant study, where they showed the effectiveness of removing particulates and VOCs and stuff in a closed setting. And no one has ever been able to replicate that study. I've put plants into small rooms and monitored the CO2 and the air quality, and I've never been able to get it to change at all. So, from my opinion, I've never seen replicatable evidence that they work. But I do think having plants inside can be great for just how you feel. There can be a freshness to it. So I do still believe that they can support your air quality. You have to be careful of plants that are too big because like to actually clean your air, you would need trees in your home, big ones. At that point, you're going to have humidity and pest issues. Like plants want to be outside. They're not asking to be trapped indoor in your artificial light in your inside environment. So often plants can behave unnaturally in an indoor environment, just like humans in an indoor environment. So plants, good, not replacements of filtering air. In no one's been able to replicate those big studies, but I do feel intuitively that snake plants and some other plants, especially similar to the essential oil, like when there's actually a live freshness and a fragrance to the plant, I think a lot of the benefit is coming from that. So I'd rather have plants than burning stuff, that's for sure.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch the full episode. I'll see you over there.
My background was in wildfire restoration, flood, hurricane cleanup, mold removal. So I would go to big disaster zones, make a sick home a healthy home so a family could come back. And the air was just as much a big part of making a building healthy and safe again.